Is the fear of gaining weight holding you back from making peace with food and living your life fully? It's time to change that. Let's talk about how to embrace your body and find peace regardless of the number on the scale. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell in the corner so you're notified every time I post a new video about intuitive eating, emotional eating, and how to live with food freedom. I'm Meredith MacKenzie. I'm a clinical counselor, an intuitive eating coach, and the founder of the One Body to Love program. I've helped hundreds of women to break free from the binge restrict cycle, overcome emotional eating, and learn to eat intuitively. Let's be honest, the fear of gaining weight is a massive barrier in your food freedom journey. Even when you know you struggle with your relationship with food in your body and you want something to finally change, that fear of gaining weight can really hold you back and almost trick you into thinking there's gotta be a way somehow that I can have peace with food and maintain my current weight or possibly lose weight. Maybe I'll be one of those lucky few who loses weight when they stop emotionally eating. And I get it, it's incredibly frustrating because even myself, your family doctor, a dietitian, none of us can tell you what your true set point is going to be when you finally get into that point of being able to eat intuitively without restricting, without binging or overeating, emotionally eating. There's no way to know. And so it's a big free fall into the abyss of like, what's going to happen? Where is my body going to settle? So it's natural that you're going to have that fear when you're jumping into this. So there's really three things that I encourage my clients to focus on, and even I try to stay focused on as their clinician. The first one is that we know if you focus on your weight and if you focus on what the outcome is going to be and that fear of what if my body changes, you're going to fall back into restriction. It's going to be incredibly difficult to give yourself permission to fully eat all the foods, full variety, and to listen to your body's hunger and fullness cues. The other challenging part of this is that if you're so focused on your fullness, you're not going to be able to do that. It inevitably leads into overeating. It's this really crummy catch-22. The second thing I ask my clients to keep in mind is that how they've been proceeding in the past is not healthy. It's not healthy from a mental health state. It's also not healthy from a physical state. If you are restricting, not giving your body what it needs, and then overeating and having these dips and ebbs and flows, it's not going to be best for your health overall if you continue how you were. So you're actually doing yourself a favor by stepping in and risking the chance of gaining weight. And the third thing I ask them to keep in mind is how culturally based this urge and this desire for thinness comes from diet culture. This fear of gaining weight that you're currently experiencing is far bigger than you. And it's something that almost all of us deal with because of the culture that we live in and the thin ideal that so many of us have just had piled upon us. And this might sound like a radical idea, but it actually doesn't mean anything. There is no worth in your weight. You are not a better person if you are thinner. You are not a better person if you are more toned. Are there health behaviors that you can be engaging in that will improve your health overall? Absolutely. But it's not tied to the size of your body. And that is a big piece that so many of my clients struggle with, trying to not only logically know this, but then emotionally feel this and be able to move forward and pass that barrier of their fear of gaining weight. So I want you to stick around until the end of this video where I'm going to share a really tangible exercise that you can start practicing right away to start challenging this fear of gaining weight. Now, before we dive in any further, I want you to get really clear on something. What is it that you want your life to look like? If this fear of gaining weight, if that thought, if that idea did not exist, if it was not a part of your everyday experience, what would your life be like? What would you be doing differently? How would you be feeling about yourself? How would you be relating to yourself, your body, to other people? And just take a moment, even if you need to pause this video, and just think about that. If the fear of gaining weight did not exist, what would you want your life to look like? Now, I want you to carry that hope and desire and the idea of what that could be like with you through the rest of this video, because that is the idea that I want you to hold on to, and it's going to help you start to overcome that fear. So in order to let go of this fear of gaining weight and to be able to fully embrace food freedom, you have to let go of the idea that your body is going to stay the same or shrink. And let's be honest, that's a huge piece to grieve. It's not something that you're going to do overnight. It's something that you're going to oscillate on all the time. Some days are going to feel like good body image days, and you're going to feel empowered and comfortable in your body and able to eat all the different foods, and it's going to be really inspiring. And other days you're going to struggle with your body image. It's going to feel really scary to potentially gain weight. You're going to notice that your pants feel a little bit tight, or you'll feel a little uncomfortable after a meal, and instantly you're going to go back to that fear of gaining weight. It's a challenge. This is one of the biggest things that my clients work on. And so if you're struggling with this, know that you're not alone. Know that that's actually a normal part of this journey, and then it does get easier day by day. The next thing I want you to do is to consider your inner circle. The people that we spend the majority of our time around are going to influence how we feel about ourselves and the rest of the world. If you have friends who are always talking about their bodies, if they're sharing guilt about what they've eaten, or they haven't worked out enough, or they're talking about how their bodies have shifted, you're going to feel the same way. It's so difficult to feel differently about yourself when you're surrounded by people who are engaging in diet culture. This also includes what your social media feed looks like. Who are the people that you're following? Are they super pro fitness inspo in a way that's like focused on burning calories and shrinking your body and before and after photos? Or are they more inspiring about loving their bodies and about moving their bodies in loving ways? Survey all the different influences that you have in your life and determine if you like that influence. And this is a topic for another video in the future, but having conversations with the important people in your life about the types of conversations that you feel comfortable having, the ones that you would like to keep off limits, that can be really difficult, but it might go a long way to just protect you in this time as you're getting over this fear of gaining weight. Another strategy that can actually go a long way is to buy new clothing, to buy clothing that fits you and feels comfortable. Can it be expensive to go out and buy a whole new wardrobe? Absolutely. But buying clothes that are not uncomfortable for you are going to go a long way. Unfortunately, one of the things that we forego so often is buying new undergarments, new bras, new underwear, whatever's going to help you feel comfortable. Because just imagine this, throughout your day, you're getting little signals, little stimuli from the way your body is feeling. And if you have tight underwear on that's hurting at your legs or hurting at your stomach, even underwire that's digging in or it feels too tight or restrictive, that's going to send a signal to your brain of, hey, this isn't pleasant. And so many of us who struggle with body image, we get that unpleasant sensation and instantly the thought's going to be, well, it's because I've gained weight. It's because I'm too fat. And that's not any way to go through life. So buying new clothing that works for your body, feels comfortable, and you're able to feel free in is so worth the investment. Now, this is a big tip, and it's actually something that came out of my master's thesis research, but that is to focus on the function of your body and what it can do for you rather than the aesthetic. And I actually think the 2024 Olympics is doing an amazing job of hitting this home for us. We see women in all different shapes and sizes, and they are all fit. They are a range of ages, they are a range of ethnicities, and we can see these bodies looking differently but performing at the top of the top. And if you're like me, you've probably seen all kinds of different reels and TikToks of people comparing, the aesthetic that we saw as the ideal growing up in all of the advertisements of the same cookie cutter body that was thin and toned and looked a certain way. And we compare it to the female athletes we see in the Olympics, and they look all different. And so that just goes to show that the aesthetic that we have been aspiring to, that we've been sold to believe is the aesthetic that we should all be aspiring to, does not equate to fitness or health or even beauty necessarily, because all bodies are beautiful and there's something beautiful to find in all of them. So what I encourage you to do is to try to shift your ideas from this, my body looks this way in my clothing, or my body looks this way in the mirror, in my bathing suit, whatever the scenario is where you're finding yourself really triggered, and focus more on the function of your body. Directly from a fitness standpoint, that could even be, wow, my body can run faster than it did before. My body can lift more weight than it did before. My body can hold myself in a plank. Even if you're not in a fitness arena, it could even look like the everyday things that you do in your life. My body can wrap my arms around my two babies and carry them down the stairs together. I feel like a badass. My body can carry my groceries. My body has gotten me through working night shifts, working on my dissertation, finishing my PhD, bearing 3 children and birthing 2. My body is amazing. And so when we focus on the function of our body and really appreciate it for everything it does, even the breaths that it takes every day to get us through, because we've all been through really challenging times where we got through them, it goes a long way to help you repair that sense of appreciation and love for your body regardless of its aesthetic. And this is where I want to share a client story of one of the clients that I've worked with in my practice. I'll be changing names for this because I want to protect this individual's identity, but the transformation that this client experienced was just amazing. We'll call this client Sarah, and she had lived a life where she was very focused on fitness and working out at the gym, and oftentimes that was saddled up side by side with losing weight and feeling the need to always be active in order to prove that she was being healthy. Now, Sarah had lived in a larger body for a portion of her life and then intentionally lost weight through movement and changing her eating habits and that type of thing, and had lost a significant amount of weight. And for her, that she wore this like a badge of honor. She felt like she had finally cracked the code and she had succeeded. And of course, everyone around her applauded her as well. Unfortunately, when Sarah came to me, she was struggling with starting to yo-yo with her weight and was emotionally eating pretty frequently. She felt like this was something she couldn't sustain, and almost like she had this secretive problem that nobody else knew about and nobody else would understand. So we worked really closely together on a variety of different topics, including being able to overcome this fear of gaining weight and what it meant for her to live in a larger body. What if she did gain that weight? What if her body's set point wasn't this lower weight that she had been able to achieve? What if that was actually restriction for her body, and that was something that was going to actually be harmful for her health in the long run and would require her to really struggle and sacrifice a lot of her mental health to maintain? So Sarah and I worked a lot together on focusing on function of her body versus the aesthetic of her body. She got back into a lot of the different movements and activities that she loved to do, one of them being yoga. And yoga really centered her on an emotional and spiritual level in a way that no other movement had. It didn't fill her with guilt or self-comparison with others. She was able to find a really beautiful community of other women who were doing yoga together and found that this was a space where she didn't compare herself to others. Instead, she felt included and welcomed and really grounded in who she was. It was a way that she was able to participate in regular movement and really enjoy it rather than feeling like she had to be moving her body, and really grew proud of how much strength she gained and that her body was able to do these different types of activities. And I'm not even going to mention whether she gained weight or didn't, because I think that that's irrelevant. But what was the big telltale for Sarah was that she was able to feel so proud of her body and to really start to feel at peace with it rather than being focused on that number on the scale. And this is the kind of win that I really enjoy supporting my clients in achieving. Now, I want to ask you, have you ever struggled with the fear of gaining weight? Let's go back to that question I asked you in the beginning of the video. If you lived your life where the fear of gaining weight wasn't a part of it, it just had never existed for you, what can you imagine life would be like? What would you be doing differently? How would you be living your life? Let me know in the comment section down below. Now, this tip is a little bit more of a psychological one, and maybe this is something that you journal on, or you sit in peace and think about, or even you talk about with your friends who are in this space of wanting to achieve food freedom with you. And that is that growth and progression are positive things. But for some reason within our society and within our culture, the idea of women particularly growing, their bodies getting bigger, their bodies changing and shifting, and even progressing and aging, getting older, we associate that so negatively. Rather than seeing the beauty in wisdom, the beauty in change, embracing how our bodies change as we age and go through different stages of our life, it's a much bigger topic, and maybe YouTube isn't the place that we want to talk about this. Join me over on Instagram. I'd love to have this conversation with you. But the idea that women should be a certain size and should occupy a certain aesthetic of body is a socially constructed idea. I'll stand on my feminist soapbox for a moment here and say that keeping women small, keeping us hungry, and keeping us focused on something that is internalized and really imposes a lot of self-hatred on ourselves stops us from being our biggest, best selves. It stops us from engaging in the world in bigger ways and stops us from taking a seat at the table. And so that is a piece, again, a much bigger topic that, could probably use many, many, many internal conversations with yourself as well as with other people. But I want to sit at the table. I want to be a part of change. I don't want to be focused on spending hours a day counting my calories and moving my body in specific ways when I could be focusing on the things that are going to make my life bigger and focusing on the things that truly matter to me. So at the beginning of this video, I promised you a tangible little strategy exercise that you can use. And It's something that if you want to write it down on a note in your phone, but this is something that you can do because you're going to have these feelings that are going to keep arising for you. This is a little exercise that you can do at meal times, at times when you notice that fear of gaining weight popping up for you. So let's imagine that it's lunchtime for you and you're starting to notice that you're feeling anxious about it. You're questioning, you're starting to debate, should I be eating this? I don't know. Maybe I can have a smaller portion. Whatever you're noticing happening for you internally, I want you to pause. Every time you sit down for a meal, take a moment and just pause. I want you to look inwards and acknowledge that anxiety. Label it for what it is. Okay, this is my fear of gaining weight. This is diet culture screaming in my ear, telling me that if I gain weight, I'm gonna lose my value. I am going to be ugly. People are gonna reject me. Whatever it is that anxiety says to you, acknowledge it. It's there. Let's not pretend it isn't. Let's not be toxically positive and body loving. And then I want you to take a really deep breath. Let that thought be there and let it float away. Take another deep breath. And attune to your body. What do you feel in your body right now after that chatter has gone away? What do you feel in your body? What's your hunger level like? Do you have any aches and pains? What's your energy level like? What's your emotion that you're feeling? And just listen to that part of your body and answer based on where you're with your body at that point. I do want this to eat. I'm gonna have this. And I can tune into my body again throughout the meal and reassess how hungry I am in the moment. I'm not gonna let that chatter get to me right now. The truth of the matter is the chatter, the negative views and the negative thoughts that you have about your body and the fear of gaining weight are gonna follow you, and they're gonna follow you for quite some time. What you can do to overcome this is to acknowledge that they're there, recognize where they come from, and to continue on making choices for yourself out of love, out of care for your body and your well-being. I have no promises that it's gonna be easy. I wish that it was, but you are so worth this, and I wanna be there to help you with that. So I've actually created this really cool 5-minute quiz that you can take. It's kind of like those old school magazine quizzes where you can assess your eating personality. What's great about this quiz is it's going to pinpoint where you're struggling with your relationship with food and give you tangible ideas of how you can start to have a better relationship with your body and find food freedom. So I provided the link in the description box down below. Go take the quiz, let me know what came out for you, but we'll be in touch about how to help you with the next steps. I want to thank you so much for watching this video. I know it was a tough one, and if you found it helpful, inspiring, even if you have a little bit of hope after watching it, please give it a like and remember to subscribe to the channel so that you can watch future videos. I'm doing my food freedom series right now on the channel, so you're not going to want to miss one. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you're notified every time a new video is published. And you're going to want to check out these other videos from the series right here. I'll see you in the next video.